Well, I will tell you what you can do to improve your mental health straight off the bat. Get involved in a bit of upcycling. Have a look around the house and see all these things that are just languishing in a corner, looking kind of ugly and unloved, and give them a little bit of magic pixie dust. And here to do just that, Laura DeBarra and John Amabile. Good morning, both.
Morning.
Good morning.
Today we are focusing on creating a workspace at home and using just stuff that you have around the house that perhaps is not doing anything very useful. So, John, give us some ideas for this, if you would.
Basically, all you need is surface. So it could be anything, an old bit of kitchen worktop that's cleverly placed on top of. It could be old filing cabinets. It's really just what you've got lying around. Two ways of looking at it: either see what's around, create the work surface, but by the time it's strewn with a cutting mat, tools, tools of the trade, all the things, the gubbins, you won't see much of the top anyway. But if you want it to be more decorative, then you have to look at different ways in finishing it. Again, don't hack up your favourite Chippendale. Have a look at what's there. I've actually used old beach raffia mats and put little wooden sections and nailed them down and put glass on the top, and it gave a kind of colonial look. So it's about how. Is it transformable, or is it old pieces of timber lying around? Even old pieces of sarking off of an old hut that's been demolished, dried out, placed down, planed with a bit of glass on top, can look amazing.
I mean, Laura, you've done it. I've seen a picture of the lovely little white desk that you've created.
Yeah, that was just a marble effect with gold legs. I think a lot of people these days, when they're making a desk at home, it's because they have had to work from home during lockdowns. So I'm finding more and more people requesting that, and clients I've been working for asking how they can make theirs. And I guess the most important thing is you have to decide what your desk is for, and then that will help you decide what can be used for it. If it's going to be a working desk, for example, like one that I would work on making stuff on, I would suggest personally pre-bought metal legs, because you're going to be putting a lot of weight in it, and these are going to be level no matter what, because they're made to be legs. They're really easy to screw into a surface, like if the surface that you choose for the top. Also, if it's going to be like a dressing table or something with less weight on it, no heavy electronics, you can then use wooden legs. You can buy A-shaped frames. You can repurpose things like shelving units. It's really easy to make the frame for the legs out of something else. Once you're not putting too much weight on it, it can be most things, really. You just want to make sure that it's secure and reinforced. But my number one tip for making a desk for working at home that you cannot ignore is your desk height.
Yeah.
The recommended size is between 71 and 73 centimetres, and that's based on somebody being between basically close to 6 foot, which not a lot of people, I'm not. So I actually need to make sure that I have an ergonomics position when I'm at my desk to make sure I'm not harming my back. So my second book has details on this, because there's so much demand for info of desks. But the main way to remember it is your legs and arms need to be able to be at right angles while you're working, so your feet are on the floor, and that your desk is at a height that matches this, allows your arms to not be too high or too low. So when you're buying the legs, keep that in mind. But there's so many diagrams online. You can just Google perfect height for the desk, and you can match it to your height. And then weight is just massive. What's going to be on it? Are you going to be applying force to it? And I would always if you have a beautiful old door and you want to make a massive desk, or you want to cut it down, you can easily do that by just buying pre-made legs and just sticking them onto it.
No, it's a really good point about making sure that it's kind of ergonomically sound for you, because if it is a workspace and you're going to be spending extended periods of time at it, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. And the other benefit, though, John, and as Laura's pointed out, I guess if you decide where in your house is going to be your workspace, it may not be kind of regulation shape or size, so this would allow you to create something that fits neatly into your room and your space.
Absolutely. It could be, a cubby hole, a sort of recess either side of a fireplace. It could even be an old wardrobe framing that's kicking about, that's be good for a kid's desk area, and you can put shelves above for filing, take the front doors off of a desk. But again, ergonomically, that it must work, because especially if you're doing it for a workstation for a student or one of your children at home, if they are there and they're working all the time, spending a lot of time there, it has to be right for their positioning, for their back and their arms, because it can cause permanent damage. And in the workplace, and I know that when I worked in Scottish Television years ago, there was checks on your working station, your position of height and desk and seat and backrest. So it is important on the bigger scale of things. Yes, it's got to look lovely, but with something like a desk, it has to be functional and perform correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so point taken on that one, but on the looking nice. Have you seen this? I don't suppose it's a trick, but using lollipop sticks, like ice lollipop sticks, and lying them kind of flat and putting them in a kind of herringbone pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of time, but it's like old-fashioned marquetry that you will see on beautiful tables and chairs, and it's quite a Scandi look as well. But you can get lollipop sticks and chop the round part off them to make them little rectangles, and then you can bond them down. And if you stain them different colours before, you can do quite a nice marquetry style on it. Remember, you need something to inlay so everything's of the same surface, but it is a really nice way. It's a bit like when I said I use the raffia mats on the inside of a panel. You can actually be creative with these pieces of timber. You need to eat a lot of lollies. Oops, done that. Once you've eaten a lot of lollies and you have them, stain them up, you can actually be really creative. It can look really good. It's all down to
you're such a professional. Laura, the little challenge that we gave you and John was, what do you do with kids' toys that no longer are played with? I mean, a lot of them these days will just be hunks of plastic. I don't know what you can do with them.
I think, well, I don't have children, so I'll just let you know that I tend to look at toys in a different way. I'm like, oh, what can be done with this? So some really fun uses I've seen. I, for example, do a lot of sewing, and I've seen people who give like beautiful little gifts of something that they've created using old trucks. The main thing is that using like the back of a truck as a pincushion, gifting it to somebody who does a lot of sewing. Or like repurposing like the little figurines and dinosaurs and stuff like that into planters for a cactus, or making it into a lamp, etc. But the main thing is, don't look at the toys as they are. What a lot of people do to pull off a successful upcycle with toys is they spray them all one colour, so that it ends up being more a silhouette rather than the bright colours. Because a lot of people don't hang on to toys because they are obviously great for kids and learning because they're so bright, and there's a reason they're those colours. Mm-hmm. But to add them into your decor, sometimes you'll have to change the shade. So if you Google, for example, photo frame from old toys, a lot of people will have glued loads of figurines all the way around an old frame and then sprayed it gold, silver, black, or like a bright neon pink. Mm-hmm. And it actually makes a really interesting centerpiece. Then there's ones where people have just piled, it looks like they're just piled up loads of figurines as well, sprayed them gold, made them into a lamp fitting. You can also, like I've seen ones where there's fire trucks and diggers, and there's a bulb hanging from the ladder on them, which is always really fun as well. Oh, wow. Larger things, you could spray, let's say you had like, I don't know, an old army, anything with like a back, like anything truck shaped that has the back where you can put storage into, you can just spray it down, make it into a small little bookshelf that can sit on a bedside cabinet. There's loads that you can do if you have a type of toy, like let's say you have loads of figurines, Barbies, dinosaurs, trucks, whatever, vehicles. Have a little search around on Google, because you will see people do amazing things, but usually they're washed. I usually use sugar soap to wash things so that you take off all the there's going to be natural oils from skin, from your fingers basically, and then that won't attach to the spray paint. So you just want to wash everything down. Warm soapy water with washing up liquid is fine. And then you glue them all together and then spray it all as one instead of spraying individually first. And you can make some really amazing centerpieces for a room from it. I've also seen one fantastic one where somebody got loads of small little animals and made a big fruit bowl. Wow. And it just fits, but it looks really quirky. It looks like something you'd see in a gallery, and the rest of the kitchen is it's like white and minimal. So you can see some really cool things being done with kids' toys.
Wow, for a woman who doesn't have children, doesn't have toys knocking around, you've got some blooming good ideas, Laura. And so I'm going to go into that cupboard that I have downstairs, which has got loads. of rubbish old toys, and I'm going to post them to you, Laura, and see what you can create.
do, yeah.
I'm good that way. Brilliant ideas as ever. Let me say to everyone, if you have created a lovely little workspace by stuff around, we really want to see your ideas too. And the toys, I hadn't even thought of repurposing toys, never crossed my mind. So if you've done that, let's see it. It's k@bbc.co.uk. Laura and John, thank you very much, and we'll speak to you next week.